All right, so it's a new patch, 11.5. The playoff patch is here. Will things change a lot? I don't think so. I think we saw with 11.4 people way overestimating how much the changes to champions like Kai'Sa affected the meta, and really we're still seeing Kai'Sa everywhere. So I think my message for this one is stay calm and keep doing exactly what you were doing for the most part. There's a couple of key changes, but they're pretty small. This was not a huge patch. But I do think we'll see things slowly shift in the meta throughout playoffs. So in terms of this week, not a ton is going to change. If we start in the top lane, I think it's still the same set of pretty solid picks. You know, Renekton, Gnar, Gangplank. I've pushed Sion up one level because I think we're going to start seeing more Sion. It was quite successful a couple of times for teams. So Sion is my kind of like sleeper pick if I'm not going to pick those other three. And the other one is Karma. Karma got a pretty massive buff for kind of no reason on this patch, and she was already being played a little bit in the top lane. Now, obviously, the comp has to be pretty dependent. You need like a Hecarim or an Olaf or maybe even a hyper carry in the bot lane to buff up. But Karma is definitely an option I think we'll see a little bit more of this week. Moving on to the jungle. So in the jungle, there's one big change here, and it's the nerf to Udyr. His Phoenix stance got hit pretty hard in terms of damage, but it's not hard enough to completely remove him from the picture. It just takes him down a level off that permaban list. So I've added Sparkles because he's been on the do not pick section for so long, and I actually think he's a really good pick this week. So far there's been 12 games played, on 11.5 professionally. About half are in China and half are in Oceania. And Udyr's gotten through 5 of those 12 games. So I think that shows like the nerf was enough to keep him competitive with the other junglers, but he's still an option if teams want to play him. So I think we'll see him show up a little bit. Lilia and Hecarim are still kind of your main two. We'll see probably a lot more Hecarim bans because there's that spot potentially opening up with Udyr. And then see some Graves bans and Olaf bans and maybe Skarner bans if it gets to the second phase. But I think if you look at these top 6 champions, they all kind of have stuff in common, that they are like hard farming junglers, and that's about the point of the meta right now is hard farm and get in a couple of really key good ganks. So that's why I think like Jarvan and Gragas won't show up quite as much in the jungle. We might see Gragas, but probably not. Just like they pointed it out on the cast a couple of times when Blabber was playing Gragas, but you just don't farm as fast. And so if you go out on the map, if you leave base at the same time as the enemy jungler, you're 20 seconds behind getting to those major objectives because you just don't farm as fast. And that really, the tempo picks are really important right now. So potentially look at banning Udyr this round or picking him for your players. Moving on to the mid lane, small nerf to Azir, but the point of Azir is to have this late game hyper carry, and people aren't really playing like super hard in like a jungle mid prio at all, and so I really don't think this nerf is going to hit competitive too hard. We might see a little bit less Azir bans, like a little bit more like last pick kind of stuff, but I think Tristana will see a little bit more play in the mid lane. I had her in the less likely tier, and there's been a lot of mid lane play. Trist has been a really solid pick for a few patches now. But I don't know whether or not the shift is going to happen this specific week. But I think over the next couple of weeks of playoffs, we're going to see more teams fall back on that tried and true TF, Galio, global kind of presence. So it's hard to say whether or not it's going to happen this week. I think if you have someone like Demonte who's known for playing those things, I think 100 Thieves is going to push towards playing that kind of style because it is just as good as these top picks. Just for some reason, people didn't want to play it. Like Fnatic's been playing Galio, TF in the mid lane basically every game for the last little bit. Maybe that's an overstatement, but the point is it still works. So I think we'll see players play it, just maybe not this week. Which I know doesn't help you with your fantasy, but moving on to the bot lane. So in the bot lane, I think we'll see more Trist bot lane as well. The flex pick is just too strong. The one I've moved down is Senna. Now this patch, see, this is what I mean, where like things stay mostly the same. We're still going to see a lot of Kai'Sa. We're going to see a lot of Xayah, Jinx, Kalista, right? We're not seeing as much Seraphine. Teams don't like playing without that hard carry option, unless maybe Trist is in the mid lane. But it's not often enough to be able to pick for fantasy. Now, the reason I say things are basically the same, but the Senna change seems huge, right? Like, don't pick Senna anymore. The Rageblade change in this patch where it doesn't really work on Senna anymore, plus the nerf to her Soul Generation 11.4 is pretty big, and she hasn't been played in any of the 12 games right now. So maybe she'll see 1 or 2 games, but I think, that Kai'Sa Xayah perma pick ban is pretty good, unless maybe you know someone who really likes Kalista, like let's say Neo. Moving on to support. So in support, Rel got a small nerf. Definitely not enough to take her out of competitive. It's not the numbers on the champion that are the problem. It's the way the champion works in terms of competitive. It's just so strong. So I think that that Rel will actually be played a little bit more. Alistar seems to be the go-to champion over and over again. And I think we'll see a little bit more Xayah now that Senna's not an option, which again increases Rakan's play rate a little bit. Leo maybe a little bit more. Seraphine's still an option. And I think Thresh, I would have put him up at the top, but it's seeing a lot more bans. Thresh has 100% pick ban rate so far in 12 games, and 9 of those are bans. So I just wasn't sure if it would be enough to leave Thresh in that top section. But I think Alistar Rel, honestly, you could ban or pick Alistar Rel for every single support, and you'd probably be okay. Yeah, so that's the roles. We're going to go into picks and bans here. So this is my one league where I am currently in the championship. So we'll do picks bans here. So Huni, he hasn't played Gnar in a couple weeks. I'm tempted to pick Gnar for him, but I am going to go out on a limb. Actually, not for this league. I'm going to pick Karma for Huni for a different league. I'm going to pick the Shen just to be safe. Fake God, he's been really good on Gnar. Gnar or Renekton, it's a hard one to choose. I think I'm going to go Renekton this week for Fake God. Xerxes, I am actually going to quickly jump in and pick up Dardoch instead of Xerxes, because believe it or not, Dardoch is still available in this, and he's very hard to ban for, but yeah, I'm going to pick the Udyr. I think it'll get through for Dardoch. Svenskeren, he played Mundo a couple times, kind of weird, but I'm going to ban Udyr. It's back to perma-pick ban for me anyways. I think there's a chance that Demonte plays this week and plays Twisted Fate. Now, I said not to pick Lucian last time, and then Pobelter played it 3 times. I don't think CLG is going to do that for another 3 games. I don't think teams are going to let them get away with it again. So I think I'm going to go for the Victor. Pobelter looked pretty good on it. Got to go Kai'Sa. Like, it's just still so strong. Go for Kai'Sa. Even though, man, FBI really hasn't been playing it as much. Maybe I'll go Tristana for FBI. Probably going to bite me in the butt when he plays Kalista and gets like 60 points, but that's okay. Vulcan, got to pick the Alistar. He's just so good on the champion. And Core JJ, I'm going to pick the Rel. I don't think his Thresh will get through. And that's that. We're trying to keep the video under 10 minutes. So that is the new picks and bans. If you take anything away, I'd say keep it pretty much the same as what you were doing before, with maybe the change of Udyr and Senna are the 2 kind of main ones that I would say to watch out for. So that is the last pick and ban for Spring Split. I hope the fantasy odds are ever in your favor and that you have a great last week. Make sure you hit the like button and let me know if you'd like to keep seeing these videos, even though we're not doing fantasy for the tournament. I'd love to know. So let me know in the comments below.